space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
Welcome to the show. I'm Richard and this is A Space to Speak Your Mind, a radio programme and a podcast about mental health and wellbeing made by people with lived experience in association with Cornwall Mind. We do occasionally cover subjects that some listeners may find distressing, and for more information, help and support, please visit cornwallmind.org. This month, once again, I'll be catching up with Rob from Cornwall Mind to find out how the 5 Ways to Wellbeing programme has gone. A Space to Speak Your Mind's contributor Nathan will be learning how the power of a cold shower can improve your mental health. Davina Deniszczyc from Nuffield Health will be explaining how girls are still not participating in sport despite the successes of the Women's Euros and how this is negatively impacting on both their physical and mental health. But first, I'm chatting with Alistair and Michelle from Quiet Connections.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
It's a Space to Speak Your Mind, and back in November of 2020, we spoke to Hayley and Stacey from Quiet Connections. You can listen to that now on the podcast of this show if you go to A Space to Speak Your Mind on your normal podcast player. But right now, we're catching up with some of the guys from Quiet Connections. I'm here at Huddle in Falmouth, and I'm with Alistair and Michelle. So Michelle, just for people who don't know, can you just explain a little bit about what Quiet Connections is?
Yeah, okay. So Quiet Connections is a space where you can feel confident and comfortable if you are a more introverted and quiet person.
So really, for people that may be experiencing difficulties in their life and maybe finding it difficult in social situations, is that the kind of place that they might come to?
Yeah, so people who find it difficult to even go to a job interview, especially with the pandemic, step outside the front door. That seems to have affected a lot of people. So this space is somewhere where they can come along and know other people are feeling the same way as they do. And they can connect in a quiet way. They don't have to talk, they can sit and read, but know they're in an environment and begin to grow in confidence and maybe pick up one of the conversation cards and start a conversation. And knowing that other people aren't going to judge them, they're not going to be made to feel silly. They're amongst like-minded people. And
how long has it been going as an organisation?
So I did actually help Hayley start at the very beginning as a volunteer. So it's been going for 5 years now.
And obviously we had the lockdown where a very difficult time for people. We spoke on the podcast back in November of 2020 about loneliness, and it was a very big topic then, as it still is now, with people that are still finding life very difficult. So how has it changed really in the last couple of years?
We're seeing a lot more of people coming through at the moment, but also they're a lot more tentative to come along, so we're reaching out. I always offer to first message, I'll offer to have coffee with somebody if they want to meet before coming along to group, to be introduced to the group, whatever way makes them feel comfortable. That's what we're here for. We're here to support those people because we're all in the same boat, we're all in the same situation of feeling that anxiety. Going along to a new group that maybe people are going to be looking at you, watching you, judging you. But that's the great thing about Quiet Connections is that we know that that's not going to happen. Everybody who's sat down in the group feels the same way and struggles in the same way to make that connection.
And who is it that you help within Quiet Connections? Is it for everyone?
Yes, we have people from the ages of 17, 18 up to, I wouldn't like to ask their age, but I say 80, 85. There is no discrimination, and it's good to see people all getting on together as well.
I'm also joined here with Alistair. Now, how long have you been with Quiet Connections?
Do you know, I first heard about Quiet Connections just before COVID, actually before lockdowns, and I just saw the name Quiet Connections and I thought, that just sounds like me, that sounds perfect. So I think I first went to one of their meetups October last year, and I've kind of joined the organisation recently. But it's something I wanted to come to for quite a while. As the name says, it's connecting and it's doing it quietly. And there's something really nice about that. You can turn up and you don't feel the pressure that you have to be talking loads and be extroverted. And that's something they make quite explicit at the start, that you don't have to be like that. And you can go, if you're feeling a bit uneasy, then you can go if you want to. You don't have to hang around for a certain amount of time. And actually hearing that at the start of the meetup, so this was up in Will Martin, the first time I actually went along to meet the group. And it was lovely. It was really nice place to go to. But I think just having that little bit at the start just helped certainly relax me, and I think probably everybody else. And I think in a way that because people aren't there thinking, I'm not talking enough, I've not said anything for a couple of minutes. You don't have all these thoughts going through your head. So it does actually relax you. So maybe people actually might, maybe not talking loads, but maybe would talk more than, well, they don't feel that pressure to be talking all the time. So it does relax them.
And I know as well you've been on a bit of a personal journey and you want to tell us about that today. So how was it for you and what made you really want to come to Quiet Connections at the beginning?
I've always been quiet. So when I was a child, I was painfully shy, and I always looked at my quietness in terms of being shy. But then as I've got older, I've had kind of different labels to describe my quietness. I'm a little bit wary of labels sometimes because they can be a little bit prescriptive, a little bit restrictive as well. But I'm introverted as well. When I understood what that was about, which is to do with energy levels, and you're reading through and you're finding out about all the stuff online. Then I went to an introverts meetup group in London, and it's like, wow, you're going through all the kind of physical things that introverts have to do with overstimulation, needing that time on your own to recharge. It all made sense, and it really, really helped me. It's like, okay, it's not just me. There's nothing wrong with me. And I would say a big thing about Quiet Connections is that if you're quiet, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You just have a quiet style of doing things, and that's fine.
And talking about being an introvert, this is something you only found out really in later life. So, you've gone through your whole life up to this point where you've not really known the kind of things you've obviously been experiencing, but never really had the language to explain what was going on or the people to support you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think looking at online forums, there's a lot of introverts on there who say, God, I wish I'd known this when I was growing up. Because you are looked upon as being different. If you want to be on your own, if you want to recharge on your own, maybe you need a bit of time to reflect on stuff, you want to go inside. So if you're doing group activities, you can find that you want to have that little bit of extra time. So it might be a bit like, well, he's not really saying much, he's working quite slowly. Once I understood a lot of the reasons why, that made a massive difference to me. And I think kind of confidence ultimately comes from self-acceptance. So if you understand the reasons why, okay, right, well, I feel a lot better about myself now. It's not just me. There are physical reasons for this. So for me, it's really, really important. I mean, I work in a school, and I would like the quieter children in the schools to really understand that if they are quiet, there's nothing wrong with that. That's their own personal quiet style, and that's perfectly fine. There is a difference between shyness and introversion. So when I was growing up, I was shy. So that's like a social anxiety. So that is something that I have looked to address down the years, because that can hold you back from doing things. But it doesn't then mean that you want to become a massive extrovert and talking all the time. So you're not bending yourself out of shape with this. So it is about kind of tackling that social anxiety, which I wanted to do personally, but then an understanding that, you know what, I'm still going to be quiet, and that's just my personal style, and that's fine.
Because I think that's the thing, even for me, I was a very shy person, very quiet when I was younger, and it's only really in the last sort of 5 years that I've been able to identify myself as having social anxiety. And when I look back over the years and all the different situations I've been in, I suddenly realised actually that was the social anxiety that was happening. And for a lot of people, they don't realise that someone is having that experience, because for all intents and purposes, that person might seem happy and cheerful and involved, yet inside of them, they're going through all kinds of different experiences. Is that how it was for you?
Yeah, I mean, a mixture of things. So it's not all just one experience. But I would say about Quiet Connections is about connecting. You can be, when I was younger, I'd go out, and I wasn't just in my bedroom all the time just reading. I would go out and I'd go to football games, I'd go clubbing. But sometimes, even when you're amongst loads of friends and you're being really extrovert and louder, you can feel lonely. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you're behaving that way, that you are actually feeling connected with people, because you're trying to be something that you're not. And say Quiet Connections is about connecting with other people, but I guess kind of connecting with yourself as well. You're not trying to be something that you're not. And that's really important.
I think as well, once you do identify it, because for me as well, panic attacks were a big thing for me with social anxiety. But I think once I identified what they were and the reasons they were happening, it sort of almost took the pressure away. And even with social anxiety, once I knew the situations that I was finding it difficult, then I was able to deal with that. So have you found in the last year or two that once you've been able to identify, you're maybe now able to experience things in different ways? And if so, how so?
I think I've probably got more awareness of situations that I might be nervous with. It doesn't mean that I'm perfectly confident all the time, but that's fine. Everybody has shyness at times, so you will always have that. I think I'm probably a bit more understanding with it as well, rather than beating myself up. I don't think beating yourself up actually works. I don't think it helps. So I have got more awareness with stuff, and it wasn't something I wanted to have that was going to kind of hold me back from living the life I wanted. I mean, I moved down to Cornwall 3 years ago on my own down to Falmouth, and I'd never have done that when I was younger. Not in a million years would I have done that. And I changed career from working in law firms to working in schools, and again sort of standing in front of children, and particularly adults, can be kind of a little bit, starts off with nerve-wracking, but then just it's stretching those comfort zones and things like that kind of maybe in the past you think I could never do that, and you realise you can. So there's that awareness of it, and I think that sometimes having that kind of comfort stretching those comfort zones to do things that maybe you thought I could never do, it's actually, well, with a bit of practice, yeah, maybe I can. One of the things I find about the Quiet Connections meetups, so we have a weekly one here in Falmouth, is when I come down, and quite often I can be quite tired, I work in a school with all the hustle and bustle, I can be overstimulated and quite drained. I've found when I come down here and we're just connecting nice and quietly, that when I leave, I normally feel re-energised, and that's a really, really nice feeling. It's nothing forced, but I come out of it though later on and I feel just I've got those energy levels have come back again and I feel recharged.
So thanks for sharing that with us, Alistair. And Michelle, we are now out of lockdown and things have changed a lot in the last 2 years. So it's great to have these groups that are happening, and we are in Huddle in Falmouth. So can you just tell us about the group and when it takes place and what people could expect?
Yeah, the Huddle is an amazing venue for groups because it's really comfortable, sofas, it's got a great atmosphere, and it runs every Wednesday evening between 6 and 8. We find this works well with people who work to come along, and we even have people get on the train from Truro to come over. The Huddle is changing its name to Fair Winds, so if people see a name change, it doesn't mean it's not in the same venue in Falmouth, but it's about encouraging compassion and promoting justice. And if you want to come along to one of our gatherings at the Huddle, you can either sign up on our website. People are referred through the social prescribers with the GPs. And we're also on Meetup as well. All our other groups are available in those ways as well. Or you can just come along. You would never be turned away. We are small groups, and if it became more people, we would make more groups. Maybe do a daytime one or another evening one. So twice a month, I put together gatherings that we think will help people to connect in a quiet way. Things like walking up Godrevy, we went to see the seals. We've done strawberry picking at Travaska's farm, and that was amazing. The feeling of just quietly walking up and down picking those strawberries was lovely, and afterwards we had a ice cream and a cold drink because it was very hot on that day. One event we've had already that was especially good was going to the Bear in Mind Museum at the King Edward Mine workspace in Troon. One of our quieteers managed to find the courage to open up her museum with these teddy bears she'd had in storage for 20 years. And she's also does art therapy, so we had a therapeutic art session as well of painting and drawing. We found this amazingly tranquil and quiet. We also went for an ice cream down at Roskilly's farm and a walk around the ponds there. And we've got some nice ones coming up, some walking around the reserve at Swampole and going on the beach for another ice cream. My idea.
Sounds amazing. Lots of things coming up and lots of things to be excited for. So hopefully from what people have heard today, they can find out more about Quiet Connections. But for now, Alistair, Michelle, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Last month, we heard from Rob and Lorna from Cornwall Mind, and Rob explained to us about the 5 Ways to Wellbeing programme. You can listen back to that on our August podcast, but now it's time to find out about how the Red Booth sessions have gone.
A space to speak your mind.
I'm I'm at the Wesley Buildings in Redruth. I'm joined by Rob, who was here on the last show. So Rob, it's come to the end of the 5 Ways to Wellbeing. How do you think it's gone?
It's gone really well. I'm personally really passionate about the 5 Ways to Wellbeing because I use them myself. What we've done is we've talked about the sort of theory behind why it's important to connect or to be active, and then we've used sort of practical activities to illustrate it and thought about how people can get that into their everyday routine and build it into their life, really.
And we've got a few of the people here today that are going to be talking about their experiences.
That's right. So we've got Dean and Barry, who have been to every session and seem to have got a lot from the course. So they're going to be telling you themselves about what they've got from the course and what they've learned and what they'll take with them to help their recovery, help them in everyday life.
So let's hear from Dean and Barry.
Hello, my name is Barry. I'm taking part in this 5 Ways course. I had been struggling with depression and low mood, and I got to hear about this course through a friend and thought it might help. Fortunately, I work in the afternoon and this is a morning event, so I could fit it in. It's really helped in helping me to see life in a different way. The social aspect of the course I found has been very good for me, and it's a very relaxed format. One of the sessions I enjoyed the most was being active. This is where we all had to do yoga. It really helped relax us, and I think it brought the group together more, so that I found very enjoyable. And since being on the course, I've actually become much more active myself and find it easier to get up in the mornings, and I suppose also the weather's helped, so I've been going swimming a lot more. Things I would like to get out of the course is I'd like to get more organised and enjoy living more, relaxing more, and learning not to get stressed by stuff and thoughts. I think the course has definitely been a boost for me and helped me in many ways. It has helped my mind to think more positively and helped me to realise the value of social connections. I think I'm going to take more notice of life in general, and try and put into practice some of the things I've learnt on the course.
Dean, what made you want to join the 5 Ways programme?
I don't know, I guess it was to help my mental health side of my life.
So we're on week 7 of 8. What week did you feel stood out the most to you on one of the 5 Ways? What week did you enjoy the most?
No, I did like yoga. Something I've never done before.
So being active, Would you say you do yoga again?
Yeah, I'll give it a go again.
Have you ever done it before that?
No.
First time?
Yeah,
so first time,
yeah.
Okay. And in what way do you feel it helped your mental well-being by doing some yoga?
I mean, physically it was more a physical thing for me. Yeah, doing the stretches that I wouldn't normally do. Yeah, so it was more physical, mental for that.
And do you think you'll continue doing any stretches or yoga? Because you walk quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I would like. Like I said, walking is more just the legs really, whereas yoga's.
And what do you feel you'll take going forward? So after the group's finished, what are you going to take forward from what we've done over the 7 or 8 weeks?
Well, I think I'd use what I've learnt to help me go self-employed, doing things like that.
Do you feel you've got the confidence to make those connections and start your own business?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working with people at the moment, and I've got to talk to people about the social media side of things, which will help promote the business. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do yet, and I've got all the knowledge in my head. It's all there. It's just putting it all into action and start taking people out.
So you've enjoyed the course?
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, met some nice people.
So that's Barry and Dean, who are on the 5 Ways to Wellbeing programme. And Rob, some good news because we're going to be starting this up again in September.
That's right. So on the 14th of September, we are starting the course in Helston. So if anyone's interested, get in touch. Probably the best way to do that is on the Cornwall Mind website. And then we're going to be running the programme in Penzance and looking towards sort of the new year, Camborne and other areas. So we want to roll this out across the county.
And more information can be found on the Cornwall Mind website, which is cornwallmind.org. Rob, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thanks to Rob and Lorna, and also to Dean and Barry for talking with us here on the show. Despite the Lionesses being hailed as heroes and celebrated across the country for their success in the Summer Women's Euros tournament, only 12% of young girls plan on playing sport. That's according to new research from healthcare charity Nuffield Health, which also has revealed 48% feel embarrassed when playing sports or exercising, compared to just 28% of boys. Davina Deniszczyc is the charity and medical director, and joins me now to tell me about the negative impact this is having on their physical and mental health.
A space to speak your mind.
Davina Deniszczyc is the charity and medical director at Nuffield Health, who believes that if we don't start knocking down the barriers facing young girls now, they run the risk of continuing to affect them into their adult lives, negatively impacting both their physical and mental health. So, Davina, we've had a fantastic summer of sport. We've had Wimbledon, the Commonwealth Games, and the Lionesses winning the Women's Euros. So why are so few girls still planning on playing sport?
Well, we know that there are lots of barriers to girls being active, and particularly in teenage years, what we do know is that actually quite a few of them will see themselves as sporty or not sporty. And once they start to feel that they're not sporty, that then starts negative beliefs right through into adulthood. And this feeling of not sporty can come from the fact that they see sport as something that's just offered in school, and it might not be something that they like, such as netball and hockey. But actually, they can also sense that it's more for boys or for other body types. And there's a big embarrassment and a confidence piece to it. So there is lots of things such as role modelling, media, but also opportunities and choice that are really important.
Obviously, there you're talking about team sports, but even just exercising, just getting out there and being physically active, that's really important, isn't it?
Hugely. I get so frustrated as a GP. Quite often I'll be talking to people, doing a bit of motivational interviewing, trying to get them active, and they'll say, oh, I'm not a gym buddy, or, you know, I can't do running, I don't do running. And I'm like, just walk faster. You know, it's just anything that gets your heart rate up. Just try different things. If you try enough, one thing will stick, one thing you will like, and then that can be something that you can start to fit into your everyday life.
And do you think it is because at that age, we're going through so many changes with our bodies and so many things to be thinking about, and the peer pressure? Is it really just, the fact that at that time, it kind of almost puts us off for life because we've had that negative experience from an early age?
There is definitely something in the research that shows about our experiences in those teenage years that will sit with us and stay with us. There's a fear of judgment. There is a definite feeling that puberty brings around potential fear or sense of failure. There's also a big piece around social media in this cohort as well, and the fact that peer and judgment within that social aspect will play a part. But as I was saying, role modelling is really important. So we do know that actually teenage girls will say that a lack of active female role models is what puts them off. So we have got a unique opportunity at the moment with the amazing summer we've had with active females to actually bounce on the back of that and start to normalise it. But we don't want to be pushing to extremes. You don't have to be sporty. You don't have to be the best at something. Anything more than what you're doing now is good enough.
And we talk about the physical health there, but obviously mental health goes hand in hand with physical health. So how's that been impacting from the research that you've carried out?
So I think it's absolutely key, isn't it? We know that inactive young people become inactive adults. And in terms of reaching those physical activity government recommendations, that halves your rates of anxiety, halves your rates of depression, but also can be used as a treatment as well when you are suffering from mental illness. So anything that we can do to remove those barriers when you're young is hugely beneficial. And I think what's really interesting from the survey and the research we did is that around 80% of young females know that physical activity is important for health and well-being, but they don't think it's important to them right here, right now. So there's something that we can do around education, around literacy, to actually make it relevant to them right here, right now. And quite often, especially post-pandemic, what I'm seeing is that actually social norms have changed. Actually, people feeling comfortable face-to-face has changed post-pandemic. So there's something about having something that's inclusive and accessible out in community that could actually start to break down those barriers that we've seen, that fear of socialising again post-pandemic. And of course, all of that improves well-being, improves confidence, and therefore can further support mental health.
Interesting point. I mean, you talked before about role models. It's changing the way sport and exercise is perceived, having those people that are in their lives. And I think as well, just for the educators to come from a different point of view. But are there other aspects that we can do to combat this, do you think?
There are different things that we can do. So one is around actually the young people themselves, making sure that they've got access to really good information, really breaking the old wives' tales around physical activity. Can you exercise when you're on your period, and what's the right thing to be doing? So there's things around information. Layering into that, there's a lot of parents and peer support that we can be doing. In fact, 60% of young females would exercise if a female family member did it with them, which is a huge opportunity for anyone who's a mum, a sister and an auntie to grab hold of. But then we've got to think about that choice. What are schools offering? Is it inclusive? Is it accessible? What are communities offering? And is that inclusive? We've got to be really pushing that choice agenda, making it for them and making it relative to them.
And looking more long term as well, are there other things that can be put into place?
Longer term, I think that we've got to really push this role modelling, but make it more about normal people, normal bodies, normal activity day to day. There's much more around choices that schools can be doing too. And I think as a sector that we can all take some responsibility to make sure that we're all thinking about what we're doing to encourage movement and activity in young people when we're designing our programmes and services.
And where can we find out more about what we've been talking about today?
It's all on nuffieldhealth.com, move together.
So that's fantastic. People can go on the website. So thank you so much for joining us. That's Davina Deniszczyc, who's the medical director from Nuffield Health. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now it's time to hear from a Space to Speak Your Mind's contributor, Nathan, about the power of a cold shower.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
Now, with the weather warm and energy bills up, many of us will be turning the knob to enjoy colder showers. This couldn't come at a greater time, as new research has found thousands of us could be soaking up a myriad of unwanted side effects when showering hot, especially as almost half do not take any notice of the temperature of the water we stand under each day. Jamie Facer-Childs is a medical doctor and adventurer. He joins me now alongside Emma Foster from Mira Showers to discuss this new research further and share how we can all benefit from going cold. Hi, guys.
Hello.
So, Jamie, starting off, hot showers. What exactly is bad about them?
So, hot showers on level of the skin, then it causes damage to the top layer of skin cells, which causes inflammation and it can dry the skin out. And so cold showers can have the opposite effect. They can help relieve irritated skin and revive our skin and our hair. So people report feeling much better after a cold shower in terms of how they look and how they feel and how their skin is.
And then I believe there are some mental benefits as well. Can you walk us through those?
Yeah, so the first benefit, if anyone decides to take a cold shower plunge today, is that instantly afterwards you feel more alert, and that alertness lasts with you throughout the day. And the regular cold showers, what happens when you take a cold shower or cold exposure is it activates parasympathetic nervous system, which if we do it regularly enough, helps reduce stress levels and improve our mental well-being. And then even more, we just feel increase in resilience and willpower from facing that challenge of the day.
So Emma, over to you now. How much does the public know about these benefits according to your new research?
Well, according to the research that we've done at Mira Showers, it's really surprising. Over half of Brits don't realise that there's benefits. They think that actually the only benefit of having a cold shower is to cool down. They're totally unaware of all the benefits that Jamie's just talked about.
And do you have any advice for those who struggle to incorporate them into their daily life? Is it just a case of just brave it and jump in?
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Certainly it's not surprising that 9 out of 10 people say actually they don't fancy incorporating a cold shower into daily life. So I think there's a few things you can do. You certainly don't have to go full cold from the beginning. So you could start sort of lukewarm and turn the temperature down as you go. Or if you're brave enough, you certainly can go full cold from the beginning. But of course, one of the things about this time of year and the heat wave is that the water that's coming into your home is obviously a lot warmer than it would be in the depths of winter. So if there's any time that it's worth having a go at a cold shower, the time is now, so that you get used to it for when the winter months come along and the water's a bit colder.
Fantastic advice. And finally then, where can we go for more information and some guidance on this?
All of the information about everything we've talked about today is on our website, mirashowers.co.uk/cold showering.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you missed anything on today's show, you can download the podcast right now. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and also now Amazon Podcasts. For support and more information for better mental health, visit cornwallmind.org or call the Mind helpline during office hours on 0300 123 3393. There's a new 24/7 NHS local urgent mental health response line, which is free to access by anyone of any age on 0800 038 5300. That's 0800 038 5300. And don't forget you can call the Samaritans anytime for free on 116 123. If you'd like to be part of our October show, you can get in contact with us. It's a space to speak your mind at gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at A Space to Speak and like us on our Facebook page. I'm Richard. Have a fantastic September, and I'll speak to you next month here on A Space to Speak Your Mind.
A Space to Speak Your Mind.